Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. I have to do just a little bit of cleaning of some of the stuff that's over here. We are getting our summer load of hay. We have a lot of grass here. The goats have all they can eat on pasture, and the pastures are more than sufficient during the growing season. But on rainy days, I still need to feed hay, so I'd like to have a stash sitting here. I have gotten questions about the hay and do I worry about spontaneous combustion? And no. And the reason for that is a lot of the times, especially this time of year, the hay that we're buying has already sat through someone's barn over the winter. It's something that they're cleaning out in order to fill their barns with new hay. Usually the risk of combustion with hay happens right after it's baled, if it's baled a little bit wet. There are things that you can do to help that hay dry out if it is baled a little bit wet. Some people will put salt over the bales, and you can also stack them on their sides. So this bale here is not on its side. It has, it's hard to see, but the twine that holds it together is this direction. I think you can kind of see it. Hay that is stored the opposite way with the twine on the sides, that hay can breathe a little bit better, and that will allow for a little bit more airflow. Obviously this isn't completely foolproof. You want to be careful when you're dealing with hay with some moisture in it. If you're super concerned, they do make like meters that you can plunge down into the hay bale to check the moisture. And I would advise that if you're baling your own hay and you've got a lot of hay storage sitting around. We get our hay every so often in small batches, and this is where it goes, and I don't tend to worry about it. Oh, Christine, that was not necessary. That's part of why we feed hay in two separate spots. Is that good stuff, Shindy? Excuse me, Elsa. Thank you. We might get quite a bit of wind later with some driving rains, and when we have that situation, I like to shut this door. Hi, baby. Hey, frenzy girl, you're too sweet. You're too sweet. I wasn't able to get that much this time. There were a total of 50, but 30 looked moldy, so we only picked up 20. Oh, it smells good.
Yeah. He said it's kind of stimmy. I think it was the first cutting.
That's okay.
So the goats can either be picky about that, or they can starve.
the stemmy hay I don't mind during the summer because it's not their main forage.
Yeah.
It's just for when they're stuck inside for a few hours for rain. Not much, but that'll do. And this is what I meant by stacking it on its side so the twine is facing outwards. The hay can breathe better when it's like this, so a lot of times when we get fresh hay, this is how we'll stack it, and we'll salt it on this end. Good morning. Happy severe weather day. I know it doesn't quite look like it right now. The sun does keep peeking out, which is not good on a day where you are expecting some bad weather. I haven't looked at the latest outlook, but our area was just recently circled with a purple circle with our local weather guy, and he has noted that we are at an enhanced risk for PDS tornadoes, which is particularly dangerous situation, not just tornadoes. They're saying that we could get hail anywhere from like tennis ball to baseball sized, which would not be good. I had shut the greenhouse last night, and this morning we were having some weather coming through that said it had 70-mile-per-hour winds. So I closed up the greenhouse, but you can't keep a greenhouse closed around here in May, not with the sun out. Only like 90 degrees in here, which isn't too bad, to be honest, for the fact that it was closed up, but I kind of forgot about it this morning. But the breeze will be coming through here throughout the day. The reason that I wanted to close it up to begin with is not only to protect the structure of the greenhouse. These posts, the verticals, are driven 2 feet down. There's 11 of them on each side. We do have this like angled pole here that is wind bracing. And then every other dark line that you see up here, every other one is a post, but then every other one is a wind strap. So this is pretty good. It's pretty solid. Do I want 70-mile-per-hour gusts pushing up on this? Really, no. And so shutting the sides has that effect where the wind won't come in here. But also, I have my onions in here that are not super far from harvest, and I don't want them prematurely thinking that they're done and don't need to bulb up if the wind knocks the tops over. Our onions down here, they are well underway, and I don't want anything messing them up. Now these dead plants you see, this is the toxic squash that I accidentally grew. I had cut them down at the base and just let them wilt. I'm gonna leave them there for now, but that's not because of the heat. Actually, these spaghetti squash that are here in the middle are putting off a lot of branches. I bet you they're gonna fill this side of the trellis no problem, and we'll see how far they make it onto this side. Margie, is your boyfriend eating your bell again? Come here, Boxy. Baby, good girl. I've got these two lovebirds in their breeding pen, and it just so happens that we're going to be getting some rain over the next week, quite a lot of it, plus that severe weather later, and Foxy hasn't come into heat yet. So I'm going to be leaving them in here, but the ground in here essentially is just mud when it rains, and I wanted to make sure that they at least had a pallet to get up off the muddy ground in here. And then this pelletized pine bedding, it's quite amazing what it does when it gets wet. It soaks up a ton of moisture and kind of fluffs up, and it essentially over time turns into a nice pack. That's what I have in my rabbit tree right now. I really like it, and that's going to help keep these guys dry over this week. And that's some of the hay that we got yesterday. I think they like it. Good morning, you two. How did you all fare last night? So there was a brief moment where it was pretty intense yesterday. It was interesting and also pretty scary. There was a tornado warning given just north of us, like just. But we were not into the cone, so we didn't have to go into our shelter. But just underneath of that, where we were, there was a good line of wind. And as soon as it passed us, apparently the speed kicked up a notch. Levi was looking at one of the tower cams, or like an emergency management tower, and that tower clocked winds in Clarksville of 114, which is a lot. We did come out after the line passed last night and did a superficial check just to make sure things were okay. Mostly that the electric fence was still up around Foxy and Nefarious, and it was. Looks like the barn roof held up. Morning, girls. Your wallow is certainly full. Y'all, she would eat this camera if she could. Good morning. I had someone ask where Elpis is. Right here. She's doing good. Hi, baby. I've just been letting her raise her daughter. Hi, sweetheart. Frenzy's probably, yeah, she's right here. I was gonna say Frenzy's probably hanging out with Grandma because I've seen Frenzy nursing off of Christine more than I've seen her nurse off of Elpis, but that's fine. They're co-parenting. It's working out. Frenzy's a big girl. How are you guys doing? I'm gonna go check the fence line. Sometimes I forget that I need to stop wearing the long flowy dresses in the long grass. This is how you get ticks on you. So I'm just gonna tie this up. The ryegrass is definitely going to seed, which I was excited about. See, everywhere that I put ryegrass this past fall, it's going to seed. And then where you see the yellow, that's where I did not put the rye. Now, I used to be really excited about the ryegrass, and I still am, but I'm not sure that the ryegrass didn't contribute to Talia's sickness and death. So I've been talking to some people who manage more of a dry lot system because of that. I didn't know that goats could overeat on pasture or on like lush hay until I had a goat that apparently did that. And I mean, I don't know for sure. I do know for sure that she died of enterotoxemia, which is overeating disease, which happens when they overeat on, I thought just grain, but apparently anything super nutritious, to include babies overeating on milk. And I'm assuming that the lush green pasture is what did it to Talia. Now, here's the thing. I have a lot of goats and they've all been eating off of this pasture, and Talia's the only one that came down with an issue. And I was sitting there wondering, what was it about Talia that made this happen to her versus some of my other goats? And I don't know if this is related or not, but do y'all remember last year when I was tasting all of the milk because something was just off in my milk pail? It didn't taste right. And Talia's milk was the milk that tasted horrible, super bitter. And one of the reasons that that can happen is if the goat isn't making enough B vitamin for whatever reason. They should be. Like if their gut microbiome has enough cobalt in it, their natural good microbes should be abundant enough where those good microbes are making more than sufficient amounts of B vitamins in order to balance themselves out. And for some reason she wasn't, but the rest of the goats were. Really, her and I think her daughter Breezy had a little bit off tasting milk. But as soon as I added the cobalt block into the barn and gave them some supplemental B vitamin injections, they were fine. And so it has me wondering, well, I don't really know what about her made her gut microbiome not able to make enough B vitamin, but maybe her microbiome has just been off for whatever reason, and she wasn't able to handle the pastures like the other goats are. It's just a theory. I just find it interesting that 2 years in a row, Talia has microbe issues. And unfortunately, this year it killed her. So just noting that, I do think something was up with Talia, but I don't know how to explain it. There's just a couple coincidences that have me, you know, scratching my head a little. All right, this is the area where we have some big trees. I'm just checking for anything on the fence, really. like we've only got little bits of branches that have fallen. And the girls are loving it. She's still chewing on that. Fence line looks good, and that's great. It looks like actually the next couple days are supposed to be pretty nice, so I don't have to feed hay, which is great. I like that. Come on! Come here, goat! Who's missing? Felicity. Come here, girl! I know. It's easy to get lost when you're a shrimp. Let's go. Come on. When we first put this big pasture in and the girls were out here having a grand time, but a storm rolled in, they kind of knew how to get home, but not quite. And they were like running along this part of the fence, panicking. They could see the barn, but they couldn't figure out how to get back to it. That's why we have this pallet right here, just kind of sticking out. This is kind of like their homing beacon. They can run to the pallet and then come dip into the barn. It's worked well. Yeah, Margie Moo. How's it going today? So I haven't actually seen the deed be done with any of these goats. Some of the boys seem interested in their girls, but they're kind of like that pretty much all the time. So I don't know. We'll have to just leave them in there and see. But did you guys see this in the background? Ah! This makes me so happy. So the birds have been extra bad this year getting into my garden. They're bad every year, but mostly just in the beginning of the season. Usually as the season moves on, the birds move on and they don't really bother my garden too much. There's a bunch of birds flying over. So this is one of the things that I saw, I think it was Cog Hill Farm way back in the day. I don't know if they still use these flags around their garden, but in their older farm before they moved, they used these to help prevent birds. So in theory, it's the movement that kind of scares them. And actually when the wind gets to blowing real good, it makes quite a loud noise, and I imagine that that helps scare them away as well. But I want to plant my cowpeas out in these today. The cowpeas are looking quite big, and I'm kind of scared to not cover them. I may cover some and not others, just to see how well the flags are working. On the end, I did plant out one of my roselle plants. I did cover that. The birds is one reason that I like to start even my peas and beans in start trays. I can more easily manage the whole situation, and I like to put down these rubber snakes to help scare the birds away. Out of everything that I have tried on my farm to keep birds away, something like a cage obviously would help, but these little guys actually help a lot. Whatever I put them near, there's never any bird damage. I think I'm gonna go for 3 of these plants per pot or per bag. Beautiful root system, look at that. Oh, they're so nice, so healthy. I got these grow bags and these start pots from Epic Gardening, and they actually have a sale going on right now. It's their biggest sale of the year, the Memorial Day sale. A lot of stuff is on sale, to include at least these guys, maybe even the grow bags as well. And you can stack our coupon code for an additional discount. I really love that you can do that. So that makes some of the things on the website more than 50% off. So I'll put the link for that Memorial Day sale down below. I can't remember how long the sale runs, but I'll remind you guys before it ends. Look at that. Oh my goodness. That was unexpected. The way that this works is the mainline tubing sticks onto here, and then this is supposed to twist on to tighten it, and I can't get this to move. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Nope. Oh gosh. Okay. Can I even do this? That can't be the way it goes. Hi, is it a bad time? Good, I need help. And it's really stupid. I'll be outside in just a second. That part spins independently of this part, and I need it to go that way, and I can't get it.
I can't either without pliers.
I tried it with pliers.
I can't either without 2 sets of pliers.
I don't know if it spins the other way. I think it's lefty loosey, righty tighty.
Acting like it's moving.
Do you want to go try my other one? I can't get it off either. Did you get it? Oh my gosh.
Why is it reverse threaded?
And it's got mulch in it. I'll spray it out. Okay.
Well, now we know.
Thank you.
Lefty tighty.
I'm gonna leave that whole fiasco in there because sometimes that's how it is. I think no matter if you live on a homestead or not, sometimes the simplest task turns into a whole expedition. He got it. It's apparently reverse threaded, which I didn't remember that. So what happens is the mainline tubing goes onto this, and then this screws up over it and holds it on. That was way harder than it had to be, but we got it. All right, now all this is going to be watering in. I got all of the cowpeas planted, and I had 3 extra cucamelons, so I stuck them over here too with a snake to help guard this one. And then this was one of my extra roselle. This is going to be a lot of plants for this length of trellis, but it should be fun. Got 3 roselle plants in here. There's actually like 3.5. I don't know how that one's gonna do, but I've got at least 3 good healthy ones that we're gonna put right here. Found our first loofah volunteer. Ooh, with a moth. But that's what that is. Shall we find a spot for that? I think we should. Look at the roots on it. Oh my gosh. Monty, this is not for you. didn't film. I was making this cheese. I really only have dairy coming in abundance right now as far as things that I need to preserve, and I'm still making a lot of cheese and a lot of butter, but I have been experimenting with my cheeses a little bit. For 2 years, I made the same cheese. Really a couple of them, but as far as hard cheeses go, I made the same cheese over and over. I've made a Colby. And this year, I have gained enough confidence with that to be able to branch out a little bit. And yesterday, I made a baby Swiss. So what I'm going to be doing today is a little bit different. I literally just talked about how normally I direct salt my cheeses and don't brine them. But as far as the baby Swiss goes, I did decide that I would brine this cheese. I was watching a video put out by Milk Slinger. I talk about her channel all the time. Jennifer is amazing. She had said that the specific bacteria that we put in a Swiss in order to make the holes is pretty sensitive to salt. And so I wanted to do things a little bit more correct or proper for this type of cheese just so we can have the best outcome. So we need to make a salt brine today for this cheese to go in, and I'll show you this and we'll wait and all that. Now there's a couple different ways that I have seen that you can make a salt brine. One of them is to heat up the water on the stove just so that the salts can melt a little bit easier. And then I've seen plenty of people make it without heating it. So that's what I'm going to do. The salt brine is pretty simple. What we need to make sure that we're getting is an absolute saturated salt brine. And you know that your brine is saturated if there actually is some salt left over that absolutely just cannot absorb into the water anymore. There's a point where the water cannot dissolve any more salt, and that's what we want. That's a saturated brine. Brining is one of those parts of the cheese making process that has been one of the more intimidating things to me. I'm not exactly sure why. I think maybe trying to maintain this while learning how to make cheese overall, it was an extra step that I didn't want to take, but I think I'm ready for it now. So we have a gallon of water. Now we need to weigh out 2.5 pounds of salt. I bought this sea salt. I think it's important that you just don't have iodized salt. 1 pound, 2 pounds, and a half. Now another component that is important for a salt brine is calcium chloride. So when we stick the cheese in the brine, the saltiness is going to draw out some of the excess whey that's in the cheese. And with that, it can also leach out some calcium, which can mess with the texture of the cheese, and having calcium in the brine will help prevent that. So I've made this calcium chloride with a little bit of pickle crisp, actually. That is the granular form of calcium chloride in some water. I did 30 grams of pickle crisp with 70 grams of water to get a 30% solution. I'm just adding 1 tablespoon. And then a little bit of vinegar. I have seen people use 1 teaspoon of vinegar. I've seen people use 2 teaspoons. I'm just going to do a little bit, around about that much. Probably 2 teaspoons. It's starting to clear up a little. There will be salt left on the bottom of the bowl. Remember, that's how we know that this is saturated. Okay. Now, the length of time that the cheese sits in the brine in order to salt it properly depends on how much the cheese weighs. So we're going to weigh that as well. Here it is. Such a pretty cheese. It doesn't smell like Swiss yet. It does smell different than the Colby and the cheddars that I've made. Wow, there's a strange familiarity to that I cannot place. And it's not Swiss cheese. But it'll get there. This is going to be 3 months before we can taste it. And a lot happens in the meantime. Right now, this is just over 6 pounds. 4 times 6, 24. So 24 hours. I did use 7 gallons of milk to make this cheese. And so I'm getting a little bit less than I used to get. It's because I sold some of my goats that were apparently pretty cheesy. But that's okay. The cheese genetics are something that I'm working on in my herd. And now we just set it in here. I wondered if this bowl, if there was too much brine. I think there is. I've got this lid that does sit down in. So I think I've got to remove some brine, but that looks right. Our cheese is floating, as it should be. with this little bit of exposed surface of the cheese, I am going to cover it with salt just to make sure that nothing bad happens to it. And then in 12 hours, I'm going to come and actually flip this over, salt the top part, or what will be the new top of the cheese. And then after the 24 hours, it's done brining. And that's how a lot of cheeses are salted. I might be able to manage this now that I'm more used to the process. We'll see. I'll probably do a little of both. The one thing that can happen when you direct salt your cheeses, like I have, where you add salt to the curd and then stir it up and then press it, is you can end up with more of those mechanical holes, so less of like a smooth cheese. The only holes that should be in this should be from the probiotic Shermani culture, that classic Swiss cheese bacterial culture doing its thing. Those classic Swiss cheese holes. It's actually been several hours now. We just had a good line of storms come through here with quite a lot of wind. I was watching my little pear tree just whip around. It's got some pears on the top of the tree, and I was a little bit worried that things might snap, but it looks okay. Bringing my chopsticks out here because I have this green stalk with some larger of the small dwarf sized tomatoes in these green stalks, and one of them is really starting to feel the weight of itself. I thought about ordering the plant support or little trellises for the green stalks, and I still may do that, but for now I'm going to use these chopsticks just to help support its weight, at least help give it some support where if we get some more winds from like the west direction, this can like hold it. Can you see in there? It's just help holding the weight of that tomato plant. All the other plants are holding up really well. I got at least a little bit of support on all of the larger tomatoes. I don't know if you guys can tell what's going on here. Any dog owners out there know what this is? Buster's laid in my oregano bed. He really could be laying in a worse spot. For now, I'm going to allow it. Your guys' wallow is crazy. Look at the wallow overflow. I don't know if you can see in there, but their house is good and dry. We have to open the greenhouse now. I had it shut for the weather. The onions are so close. I mean, just weeks away from being harvested, and I do not want strong winds making them prematurely stop growing. It's actually cool enough out right now where the greenhouse can be totally closed, the sun can be out, and the vents aren't open. These guys are heat sensitive. Ooh, it's starting to get toasty in here though. Thank goodness for raised beds. Look at that one. Look how high the spaghetti squash has gotten. I mean, it was at the peak of the greenhouse yesterday and it's grown like 15 inches just today. I love how fast some things grow once the season really gets going. This is where I took out the toxic squash that I accidentally grew. And actually all of these tomatoes are volunteer tomatoes that I found here in the greenhouse. I am pretty sure that this is some kind of slicer variety, but look how many blooms are on one truss. I am not entirely sure. This could be Barry's Crazy Cherry, but this is quite a big leaf. Still not sure. And I don't know what any of these are. They might all be cherry varieties. So far, the pennant flags are working nicely. We saw a red-winged blackbird on this post just before the storms. This post is where I plan on putting one of those plastic owls that I have on order. They're not here yet. But yeah, these plants are untouched by the birds thus far, which is great. The tomatoes down here are not supported at all right now. They look good. They're not so big that they got too badly thrown around by all that wind. The tomatoes down here really made a comeback since I fertilized them. They were looking pretty puny. My alarm just went off to flip the cheese. Let's check it out. I'm sure it looks just the same. Looks good. It does feel more dense, which makes sense. Good morning. Here is our cheese, fresh out of the brine. I did notice that it does have a couple little areas where there's some cracks. This concerns me a little bit. It sort of looks like I maybe had some cheesecloth get kind of tucked in there. I'm not really sure. I do know that it does feel a lot more dense, and the cheese kind of compressing down, maybe changing shape a little bit, could have contributed to something like that. So I'm gonna have to watch that kind of closely for mold growth. But for now, it needs to air dry before it goes on to the next step. And I'm gonna be flipping this probably every 10-12 hours-ish for a few days as the outside dries up. As far as our brine goes, I do want to save this. You can use a brine many times over, and we probably have more liquid now than we did when we started. I think I mentioned it, that the brine will take out some of the whey from the cheese, and the whey ends up going into the brine. So yeah. There we go. I did end up going outside and dumping some of the brine off so that I could fit the salt. Remember, the excess salt is the important part of the brine, so that we know that our brine is as saturated as it can be. So now I'm going to store this in the fridge until the next time I need to brine a cheese. Also, I wanted to note something for you guys. As I've mentioned, I haven't brined very many cheeses, and all of the cheeses that I've seen brined from other creators, other cheese makers on this platform, have been brined in stainless. Apparently there's different grades of stainless, and I feel like I knew that, but if you're watching me brine a cheese in these bowls and you're thinking, I would like to brine my cheese in these bowls, probably don't, because I had some pitting happen in this bowl. This bowl, I've had it for maybe 2 weeks, and I've used it twice. And you can see yourself in the mirror, but look, and see that? That's not good. So I'm gonna find something else to brine my cheeses in. I don't recommend that you use something like this. It's just in the garden and decided to pull those elephant garlic because it looked like the leaves were starting to die back a little bit. They're not like dry and crispy, but you see they're kind of starting to yellow, especially this bottom leaf here. So it was time. The elephant garlic that I have out here in this garden is older than the elephant garlic that I have in the greenhouse. See these little guys here? These are corms, and this will be more elephant garlic. I'll just put that right back. Not bad of a harvest of something that I didn't intentionally plant, at least not this year. Those little corms that are on the bottom of that elephant garlic. The first year when they come back, they're this little tiny bulb. Let's go pull up one and I'll show you. These little guys down here are very likely what has come back from corms, and they may be a little bit hard to unearth. Let me see if I can get underneath of it so I don't snap off the top. Okay, you got it. See, oh, this little monobulb has its own little corm. So these guys, these corms, when they are planted, they will turn into one of these, which is a little mini elephant garlic that's actually one clove. It's called a monobulb. And these guys, if you allow these to come back, that's when you get the bigger garlic bulbs. See here, we've got another monobulb. These were created from corms. So I'll just leave these in here, and we'll harvest some bigger elephant garlic out of these guys next year. Come here, go! Come on! Kenzie doesn't even like lemon balm. You guys are cute. No, lose a finger if I'm not careful.